everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Melanin Marvels podcast, the space for us to dive into racialized heroes, both in our comics, in the pages, and in our communities. We are your hosts. My name is Adrian.
My name's Anika.
And I'm Divi.
And we will be meeting with you on a regular basis to tell you about racialized heroes that you know and love, while also being able to highlight some community members in Toronto that are doing amazing things. To give you a bit of context as to who we are, we're going to take some time to introduce ourselves. So starting off, my name is Adrian, and I am in the student services, so I create programs, events, and initiatives for undergraduate students. In addition, I have a master's of education and adult ed and community development, where I focus on creating spaces and creative expression for young people and also throughout communities. And when it comes to my motivations, I love superheroes. Spider-Man, one of my favorites. And when it came to growing up, I've always had an admiration for heroes, folks being able to just go beyond in order to save their communities and also in order to push themselves as well. And so to this day, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love video games, and I love the idea of being able to create spaces to talk about representation within superheroes as well. So I'm excited to dive in with our conversations.
What's up? I'm Anika, and I am currently an addictions and mental health student. So I hope to, in the future, work with the BIPOC population, and more specifically, the mental health field, or I'm saying that at least now, it might change. But I got into comics at around the age of 8, and Spider-Man was my first love when it came to the comics. But throughout then till now, so the last 20 or so years, I've realized how important having characters of color really were, because back then I didn't really see it until I discovered Storm. But Black Panther and Storm were really the only two that I had. So now I'm glad that the different Marvel, DC, and Image, and whoever else are giving us characters of color and stories to give these BIPOC people voices.
My name's Divi. My undergrad was in criminology, and then I actually did my master's in anthropology, and right now I'm studying to be a high school teacher. Hope all that goes well. I think a common thread, or something I realized throughout my entire education, is the importance of representation. And through my experience, I've been in a lot of white spaces, and I think through that there was definitely an erasure of my own racialized identity. And I think during post-secondary, I really learned, and I learned through self-reflection how the negative impact of that erasure, and the white gaze and all these white narratives that are everywhere. And I think, I love the superhero world and all of that, but of course, when I was young, it was only white men and sometimes white women on that superhero screen. So I think talking about superheroes of color, it's definitely important. And the more we see, we see the impact that it can have on youth and even us as adults. And I guess how I came to being more interested about having these conversations was through my master's project. I did a project on Black cosplayers and the impact that Black superheroes, that representation can have on them. And I'm excited to continue with these conversations.
Now that you know a bit about us, let's talk about heroes. So for the whole room, top 3 favorite heroes, whoever's ready to go, shoot.
Okay, I guess I'll go because Divi doesn't look ready. I would say Storm, aka Aurora Monroe, and then her hubby, T'Challa, Black Panther. And then for DC, I'm going to go with a new contender, which is Sojourner Mullen, or Joe Mullen from Far Sector. She's a new Green Lantern.
Very cool. I did not know about the new Green Lantern. That's interesting. I have to check that out.
You should read it, Far Sector. It's only going to be 12 issues, and I think they're at issue number 8 right now.
It's like a limited series?
Yeah.
Cool.
And the artist is Jamal Campbell, which is a Toronto man.
Wow.
Represent. Yeah. Okay, you'll definitely have to check it out. All right, top 3 from me. I'll go bottom up. So number 3 is going to be Static Shock. Huge fan of Virgil. Number 2, I have a soft spot for Nightwing. Nightwing is one of my favorites, and he hasn't gotten a lot of love within, at least when it comes to the DC animated universe. I haven't seen a lot of love for him, but for Young Justice, huge fan of him. Number 1, my boy Miles Morales. I have to say, as Spider-Man, like Spider-Man in, yes, Anika. So Spider-Man in general, one of my favorite heroes, but recent knowing of like Miles, just being able to connect with him while him also being Spider-Man, have to be hands down my number 1.
Okay, number 3 for me would be Rogue. Just because, I don't know, even when I was younger, like I loved her, and I know she's a very strange character, but I still love her in the cartoon, in the movies. Okay. Number 2, Miles, also for me, because he's cool and he's an artist, and I love that so much. Like even the film's depiction of all, it was okay. We won't get into that now. And number 1, I really like the Shuri, and I know like in the cinematic universe she's not like a superhero yet, but like she's in the comics, and you know she takes on the mantle of Black Panther, but just her, she's so smart and she's funny and she's great. So
all right, so next big question. If you could choose one superpower, what superpower would you choose and why?
I'll go. I have one right off the top of my head. Fire powers. I know that seems super destructive, but I just feel like, you know, when you've got a good rage going, it's a good time.
You're just gonna like burn up your home and stuff? Like, walk us through that.
Listen, no, we're not gonna get into this.
I would say like, what's the word for being able to just like beam me up, Scotty type of thing?
Kind of like teleportation?
Yeah, I guess that's what. I'd say teleportation.
On a similar vein, I think it would be like super speed, like the Flash. I love it because I'm usually running late. So just to be able to have super speed, wow, that look did me relax. And that is a wrap. So thank you for tuning in, and we can't wait for you to check out the next episode. Take care, everybody. Interested in continuing the conversation? Feel free to add us on @the Melanin Marvels on Instagram.